Indeed, it is the last Monday of the year, the 29th day of July 2024. Good evening and a very warm welcome to the Daily Report. I am George Maringa. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Catherine Simaloi. We're delighted that you've joined us on TV47, the home of untold stories. It is Monday, and every Monday we have a conversation on power and politics segment. You've asked for her, and we finally found her after weeks of trying to get her, especially on the Daily Report. I'm talking about my guest, who is the Honorable Jane Njeri Maina, the woman representative for Kirinyaga County, otherwise known as Gasheri. Now, she has been likened as a young woman who milks a lioness while seated on a porcupine, and she's taking no prisoners. In fact, she voted no to the Finance Bill 2024, and she says she informed the President, Dr. William Ruto, about it. Tonight, we endeavor to seek and look at the future, politics of the future, leadership of the future. She is among the young parliamentarians in the country, and tonight we seek to find her perspective as legislators. What exactly is the lay of the land looking like, especially between now and 2027? Of course, we also discuss Mount Kenya politics. You'll remember that trending video as well of her over the weekend in that famous, or rather in that what has now become a very famous video of a certain Kikuyu dance. We shall also be getting to that in a short while. Start engaging us at TV47 News on X, formerly Twitter. I am at George Maringa _. Hers is at Njeri Maina. Use the hashtag Daily Report, hashtag Power and Politics. But before then, we have our lined up stories for you. Our esteemed colleagues, journalists in the newsroom have prepared this and much more on the broadcast tonight. Tonight, craven cruelty as Narok couple allegedly beat, bludgeon and burn their young children over eating sugar and soiling their clothes. Busia Senator Okiya Omtata pushes for greater accountability from the police over protest deaths and injuries. And the Parliamentary Accounts Committee takes a look at IEBC's books and doesn't like what it sees. 22047 is our SMS line. Start with your name, where you're watching us from, followed by a question, comment, or feedback regarding the program tonight. To our top story, where after President William Ruto assented to the Appropriations Bill 2024, instructing the National Treasury to immediately prepare supplementary estimates to reduce expenditure, the National Assembly is this week expected to pass the projected estimates in an effort to provide government with enough resources for development. Speaking in Kiharu constituency on Monday, the National Assembly Budget and Appropriations Committee Chairperson Ndindi Nyoro highlighted a substantial national commitment of 57 billion shillings for road infrastructure in the upcoming financial year. The Kiharu legislator said the investment aims to complete ongoing road projects across the country, with 5 billion shillings dedicated to completion of the Mau Mau roads in Mount Kenya region. The event underscored the MP's commitment to advancing infrastructure and community welfare, aligning with the broader national agenda to bolster economic and social development.
Nationally, we have allocated around 57 billion shillings that will be going into our roads in the next financial year. We are mostly targeting roads that are ongoing. All the 57 billion will majorly be going into completion of ongoing roads across the country. And to cite some of them which are nearer home, there are roads called Mau Mau roads. And these are very long roads, serving many counties, serving Kiambu County, Murang'a County, Nyeri, Nyandarua, and connecting these counties. In this budget that will likely be passing this week, we'll be passing the appropriations bill. We have also invested resources for the confirmation of JSS in tons. We have sustained the 18.7 billion that was there in the budget for confirmation of JSS in tons into permanent and pensionable terms. We have also invested or given Kenya shilling 7.5 billion that will go into the subsidizing fertilizer. Na hii fertilizer tunapeana ya wakulima wote. both food crops and cash crops. We have also put in around 1 billion shillings that will go into sugar reforms, because we also want kushikilia wakulima wetu wa miwa wengi ambao wako Western, wako kule Transmara, wako kule Pwani. Tunataka pia tuwashikilie kwa sababu ni wa Kenya.
Sasa, nzuri sana.
President William Ruto's government has officially submitted its nomination of former Prime Minister Raila Odinga to contest for the African Union Commission AUC chairmanship in elections slated for February 2025. According to a statement from Foreign Affairs PS Korir Sing'oei, the government submitted the necessary paperwork for Kenya's nominee for the chairmanship on Monday to the Dean of Eastern Region, Mike Kagwongo, with that report.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has formally presented Kenya's nominee for the AUC chairmanship to the Dean of Eastern Region in Addis Ababa. According to a statement released by Foreign Affairs Principal Secretary Korir Sing'oei via his X account, the nomination was under the authority of the Government of Kenya and as per the statutes and rules of the African Union Commission. The statement went ahead to state, "We have today formally submitted requisite documentation of Kenya's nominee for the chairmanship of African Union, His Excellency Raila Amolo Odinga, to the Dean of Eastern Region, His Excellency Damaraj Bosgeuth, Ambassador of Mauritius, in the election to replace Musa Faki, who has held the post since March 2017. Kenya decided to field the former Prime Minister as its candidate. However, in order to find out who he will be up against in the AUC chairmanship battle next year, the former Premier will have to wait until August 6th, which is the deadline for application. The administration failed to meet its June 30th deadline, blaming the country's youth protests for the postponement. After implementing institutional changes in November 2018, the African Union approved the structure that will see 6 commissioners, a deputy chairperson and a chairperson at the AUC level in 2021. Mike Kagwongo, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Mike. A couple in Rotian, Narok North is in custody for allegedly meting out cruelty to their 2 children by beating, burning and breaking their hands. The 2 are said to have hurt the 2 minors, often for eating sugar and soiling their clothes. The children's officer in Narok North Sub-County, Zainab Mohammed, assured the public that the law will take its course in the matter of the couple, even as she sounded a warning shot to others who mistreat their young.
Wamekuwa wakichapwa, si mara ya kwanza wametandikwa, lakini huyu mtoto wa kwanza amekuwa akiumia, ameumia, amevunjika, si mara ya kwanza amevunjika, si jana amepigwa hadi akavunjika, imekuwa vile hospitali wamesema amevunjika zamani, so jana alichomwa mikono, pia akachomwa mdomo.
Amechomwa na panga ilipitia kwa mwili, na at the same time hiyo mkono imevunjika. Mkono wake umevunjika. Kuna katoto kadogo ka 2.5 years, naye pia mtoto amevunjwa mkono, ambaye tumempeleka hospitali na amewekwa plaster.
The National Assembly's Public Accounts Committee PAC resumed its sessions today, focusing on the financial challenges of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission IEBC during the 2022 election process. IEBC CEO Marjan Hussein Marjan disclosed substantial debts and potential costs of a Supreme Court petition amidst recent legislative changes by President Ruto. And Odinga with the details.
Today's focus for the Public Accounts Committee was on the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission IEBC and its CEO Marjan Hussein Marjan. The committee scrutinized the financial operations of the IEBC, particularly regarding the 2022 electoral process. Concerns about the For the IEBC's financial management emerged, issues such as irregular procurement processes, unaccounted for funds and unsupported expenditures have been highlighted. This has led to questions about the Commission's financial integrity and spurred calls for greater transparency and accountability.
From the deliberations we are having, we might not be having so much information on whether this one was recovered. Is it in order, given your experience? And this committee requests this information direct from the National Treasury. I don't know, probably because, as you can see, there is a communication gap between the two, between IEBC and the National Treasury.
On the question of the 2022 Supreme Court presidential petition, the Commission highlighted the potential costs associated with the petition, stating that if the IEBC had lost the petition, the country would have faced a fresh election costing approximately 12 billion Kenyan shillings, similar to the amount incurred in the 2017 presidential election petition.
Considering the flip side of this case, if the Commission were to lose the presidential election petition, this country would go into a fresh election, and the cost would be 12 billion. It could even be more.
Today's session comes shortly after President William Ruto assented to the IEBC Amendment Bill on July 9, 2024. This bill paves the way for establishing a selection panel to appoint new IEBC commissioners, addressing the Commission's current lack of commissioners since last year. The IEBC is set to reappear before the committee in 2 weeks' time to address other significant issues impacting the Commission. Ann Odinga, TV47.
Thank you. And for that, the Elephant Neighbours Centre Association, in partnership with the Kenya Wildlife Service, today morning officially flagged off the 18th edition of the Elephant Awareness Campaign Walk, aimed at sensitizing and educating the public on the plight of elephants. The team, led by Dr. Jim Justice Nyamu, founder of the Ivory Belongs to Elephants campaign, began the 2,790-kilometer walk in Nairobi, Kenya, and is to take approximately 90 days to their destination in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Our reporter Agnes Njindo unravels for us the details.
Dr. Jim Justice Nyamu, the well-known founder of the Ivory Belongs to Elephants, on Monday morning kick-started yet another journey for the restoration of balance between the wildlife and humans.
Today is a big day, walking the first step. My plan is to walk all the way to Addis Ababa. I was there 3 weeks ago planning. I did a Nairobi to Marsabit walk, so that one is like a walkover.
The Elephants Awareness Walk was officially flagged off at the Kenya National Wildlife Service headquarters, with its destination 2,790 kilometers away in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. The aim for the estimated 90 days walk, started by Dr. Nyamu, is to shine a spotlight on the critical issues facing Africa's elephants.
This is my 18th walk edition. I am still walking, and I'm very happy that this morning, a dream that came when I finished the last walk from Nairobi to DR Congo, that we finished here.
Nyamu is famous in conservation circles, as he has successfully completed 18 walks around the world in countries including Kenya, Rwanda, Tanzania, UK, United States, Ghana, Rwanda, and Botswana.
To wildlife, actually, it's a treasure that is priceless. It's a priceless treasure. And we really need to join hands together and also support such and support conservation matters.
He aims to hold community meetings, school visits, and public forums through his journey in hope of bringing inspiration to others to conserve the pachyderms. The initiative has a strong backing from the Kenya Wildlife Service and Kenya Forestry Service.
We are working with Jim. We believe in his cause. We believe in what he is pursuing.
The Elephant Service officially flagged off their 18th edition of the Elephant Conservation Walk, that is to run from here, Nairobi, Kenya, till Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, all in the hope of conserving and preserving the last few left elephants in Africa. Reporting for TV47, Agnes Jindo, Nairobi.
Thank you, Agnes. Over 30% of employees in the country have reported a lower income in the last year, while 50% of the same demographic have reported no addition in their income within the same period. This is according to the ICEA Lion Asset Management Report, which further reveals that despite Kenyans spending more, retail business across the country are fluctuating or flatlining. And as Hibak Said reports, spendings for the average Kenyan rose not due to a change in consumer habits, but rather from higher prices of popular products. Take a look.
The average Kenyan spends between 200 to 400 shillings per day in food alone, while the average household allocates roughly a third of their income to food alone. This has had a drastic effect on the saving culture in the country, with the number of Kenyans able to save money to sustain them beyond 6 months dropping from 23% to 17% within a year.
52% of respondents across the industries said that there was no change in their income, and 31% said there was a decrease in their income, and only 17% recorded an increase in their income. Across the sectors, the manufacturing and trade sector had 29% of the respondents reporting that they had an increase in their income levels, with a shrinkage noted a lot, highest in the sectors of wholesale and retail trade.
As a way of cutting back, people actually cut out the non-essential spending. So that's their way of dealing with the increased prices. As we had seen earlier, the increased expenditure is actually more of a result of the increased prices rather than the increase of income.
A report by ICEA Lion has blared the alarm over the rising cost of living, with the consumer spending index rising by 5.5% in the second quarter of the year, having a negative effect on the retail business in the country. On the flip side, about 25% of employees reported an increase or a decrease in income. However, this barely reflected on the muted activity in the retail business. Respondents working in the manufacturing and education sectors had the highest proportions of improved incomes, while those in trade, transport and logistics sectors had the largest proportion of reduced incomes. The rise in spending was largely attributed to a higher cost of items purchased. In terms of socioeconomic categories, the lower middle income segment recorded the strongest improvement in spending trends in the second quarter, while the lower income segment had the biggest decline in spending trends.
Consumption based on earned income or based on credit, I think we find that it's pretty encouraging and also surprising. It was another surprising finding from our survey that almost 90% of spending in Kenya is actually from earned income as opposed to credit. That's another finding that belied the common perception that Kenyans are mainly funding their lifestyles through credit. And I think that's a good thing to have a country where people are not over-leveraged. I mean, we find that Kenya's credit to GDP ratio is still very low, in the range of 40%.
87% of Kenyans made purchases using their own income, while 13% relied on credit. For businesses, an improvement in sales trends in large and medium-sized businesses during the second quarter was offset by a decline in sales trends in small and micro businesses. In terms of business sectors, the clothing, retail, shopping, and food and beverage sectors saw an improvement in sales trends in the second quarter, but this was offset by a plummeting of sales trends in the house fittings and accessories sectors. Hibak Said for TV47.
Thank you, Hibak. President William Ruto has just concluded a 3-day tour of the coastal region, whose highlight was the landmark self-moderated town hall meeting with Mombasa residents on a variety of issues. Here is Chichi Josephine with a take on the trip.
The Honorable Hassan Ali Joho, Ministry of Mining, Blue Economy.
Days after President William Ruto named his second batch of cabinet secretaries, which included former Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho, the president pitched camp in the coastal region for a 3-day tour. On Thursday evening, President William Ruto was received with thunderous applause by Mombasa residents as he made a stopover in Changamwe to interact with them.
Mnakubaliana na mimi tuunganishe Kenya yote.
In what observers took for an effort to redeem himself after weeks of bad press, the president engaged Mombasa residents in a question and answer session on his bottom-up agenda, a meeting that was designed to enable him defend his project and also seek public confidence in his administration.
Swali langu likwende kwako. Kuna kina mama ambao wako hapa mashinani, na mama hawa wamepitia changamoto nyingi sana hivi kwamba wanashindwa ku access government opportunities.
Ningekuuliza Mama Stella kwamba katika harakati za kina mama waweze kuelewa ya kwamba wako na nafasi ya 30% ya biashara za serikali.
On the question of why he retained some of the cabinet secretaries, Ruto revealed that the renominated leaders had no legal or criminal cases against them, and that at this time, every cabinet nominee was returning on very different terms, implying greater focus on service delivery.
They have come back to cabinet on new terms. We may have been friends, we may have been acquaintances, we may have, but now this is different. You know, we are going to work on the timelines the people of Kenya have given us. And some of the good gentlemen that I have and ladies that I have brought on board are people who have a proven track record. And many of them, Kenyans agree, have done a good job.
During his development tour, President William Ruto officially opened a new tuition block at the Pwani School for the Mentally Challenged, laid the foundation stone for the Nyali TVET Center, marking a significant step in the region's education and economic development, among others.
Mbali na kujenga TVET hii, mbali na kujenga mashule, pia tumekubaliana ya kwamba tutajenga ICT hub katika kila ward hapa Nyali na Kenya mzima.
Chichi, Josephine, TV47.
Now, in a letter seen by TV47 today to the Director of the Internal Affairs Unit of the National Police Service, written by activist turned Senator Okiya Omtata, he is calling for them to conduct investigations into police conduct during the protests that have rocked the country over the month of June and July. This follows weeks of complaints over police brutality and extrajudicial killings.
Victims of protests still reeling from the injuries and the pain of losing their comrades, Busia Senator Okiya Omtata today in a letter addressed to the Director of Internal Affairs Unit of the National Police Service calling for thorough investigations into police conduct during the June-July protests held nationwide.
The unit is also mandated to receive and investigate complaints against the police from the Independent Police Oversight Authority and the general public. Section 13(6) of the Prevention of Torture Act of 2022 states categorically that where an allegation of torture is made in respect of a police officer, the procedures for investigation provided for under Section 87 of the National Police Service Act, Cap 84, and Sections 25, 26, 27, 28, and 29 of the Police Oversighting Authority, Cap 86, shall apply.
Demands being made are for accountability and transparency by the police for the killing of up to 64 people during the demos, with up to 50 bodies claimed by the families.
Also, rogue police officers, mostly hooded and in civilian dressing, have, contrary to the law, targeted and snatched many people off the streets or from their homes, and some abductees have turned up dead or maimed and or badly traumatized.
The questions left unanswered by many are whether the actions by the police were premeditated, and if so, who commanded them. Omtata in his letter also asked for the public and stakeholders to be allowed access to information so as to be able to put checks and balances on police conduct.
Respect for the rule of law, democracy, human rights, and fundamental freedoms. On the objects and functions of the National Police Service, Article 244 of the Constitution of Kenya requires the officers to be transparent and accountable. and to comply with high standards of human rights and fundamental freedoms.
This comes at a day after the president pronounced himself as the protector of the constitution and is running a country where everybody enjoys their freedoms, including the media. Now the call for action is for investigations to be done into the extrajudicial killings and police misconduct witnessed during the Gen Z protests in the months of June and July. Anthony Mwangi, TV47.
Thank you, Anthony, and of course we shall be discussing that with my guest, the Honorable Jane Njeri Maina, who is already in the studio in just a short while. Every August of an even year, the Bukusu community, one of the Luhya sub-tribes from Western Kenya, participates in a special rite of passage for the young men of the community. And before the season officially kicks off, there are special and arcane ceremonies that are done before the circumcision. Our reporter Wanje Sostin joined Sirare locals in Kabuchai constituency during one such ceremony of cleansing the knives, popularly known as Chingembe, and has filed the following report.
At Sirare village in Kabuchai constituency, this is the homestead of Bungoma County circumcisers chairman Sinino Womukolongolo. The professional circumcisers are busy getting ready for the special season, sharpening their tools of trade. Special knives popularly known as Chingembe. These knives are arranged by facing the sunset direction, very crucial. Furthermore, a white chicken is sacrificed and then its blood is sprinkled on them as part of a ritual of sanctification. Sinino Mukolongolo says that examining the interests of the sacrificed chicken helps the elders to assess the omens of the celebrations.
Sisi tumetengeneza kuku yetu tuangalie watu wataenda kutahiri namna gani. Kuna maneno ama hapana? Watoto watatahiri vizuri ama hapana? Kwa mtoni penye tunapelekanga watoto ni basuri ama hapana? Sasa siku ya leo tumeangalia, tumeona
vile tulichinja kuku tukaangalia ndani ya tumbo, tukaona hiyo kuku inaonyesha mwendo wetu itakuwa safi.
During this time, the professional circumcisers are not allowed to engage in sexual activity. Furthermore, they are banned for life from ever participating in the slaughtering of livestock, grave digging. They are also barred from attending funerals. All this do not bode well with their profession.
Wakati kama huu, mahali matanga iko mimi siendi. Kwa sababu hiyo ni kifo. Na mimi nafanya kazi ya uzima. Hata ikiwa kwa boma yangu, mimi niko hata ikiwa kwa boma yangu, siwezi kufanya kazi. Kama hata kwa boma yangu, mwaka huo mimi siwezi kutahiri.
Wakati huu vile tumetoa, ukiwa na mwanamke uwezi lala na mwanamke. Ukiwa mtahirishaji uwezi chimba kaburi.
This form of practice is believed to have started in the year 1800. Those who are circumcised are placed in the special age sets, each spanning groups a decade, and which cycle back to the beginning endlessly. The 7 groups are the Banyange, who are listed first in 1848 to 1858, Bamaina, Bachuma, Basawa, Bakolongolo, Bakikwameti, Bakananachi, and Bakinyike, who were last named in 1946. The second cycle started in 1948 and currently in 2024. Those who will be circumcised this year should be called Bakananachi.
Ni watu wetu imbaye wanaenda kutahiri, tunatahirisha mwaka huu Omukikwameti. Omukikwameti tutahirisha mwaka iliyopita. Tumesikia ya kwamba Atumgananachi bado yuko hai.
Sirare village elder Cleophas Ndege has urged parents and participants to adhere to the social values as they practice their culture.
Kwa kiimba waimbe hii nyimbo zinafutia watu. Sio za kuleta madhara nini. Mara wanatembea na fida makizu nini.
Wanji Sostin, TV47, Bungoma.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in? I was number 2. What position were you? Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Welcome to The Realtor, where we take you on an exciting journey from bare land to dream home. Step 1. Finding the perfect plot. We explore location, size, and potential. Next, construction begins. Witness the foundation being laid, walls rising, and rooms taking shape. Step 3. Electricity matters. We delve into wiring, switches, and smart home tech. Step 4. From paint choices to fixtures, it's all about aesthetics. Step 5. It's time to get the right furniture. Finally, the big day. Time to move in and create memories. Join us on the journey to making homes a reality on The Realtor, Tuesdays 6:30.
there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. You're watching the Daily Report. Time now for the conversation tonight on the future of leadership right here on the Daily Report with my guest, who is none other than the Honorable Jane Njeri Maina, the woman representative for the county of Kirinyaga, County 020, I believe.
Yes.
She is also an advocate of the High Court of Kenya and a commissioner for oaths. All those titles that you back, and you're not yet, you're in the segment that you say has not yet crossed over the 30 mark, or you're already over that?
No, I turned 30 this year.
You turned 30 this year.
Yes.
And of course you fall now in the young parliamentarians of the country. And every time we see, each parliament coming up, and having a high number of young legislators, and this has been the highest so far. When you look at your tenure and your term since 2022 September thereabouts, what is that one thing that perhaps you could say you're proud of as a young parliamentarian and also as a member of the Young Parliamentaries of Kenya?
First of all, let me thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
The last time I saw you, I think I was just newly minted politician.
Yes, you're very, very new.
I just come aboard this political ship.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful so far for the journey. I think what I'm really proud of since I took hold of office is that I have managed to keep my grounded character. And, it's so easy to get lost in there. You come in, you have cars, you have security, it can get very flashy very fast. And you just sort of lose touch with who you are, why you came there, what informs you, what you really want to do for your people and how you want to represent them. So what I am very proud of is that amidst all that razzmatazz and, the grandiose of politics, I've been able to just manage a low profile and be very grounded as I was raised. And of course, as a young member of parliament, that I have managed to exercise a bit of independence, even when there are so many competing interests. And I think a good example was during the recent finance bill, where I voted against a party position. So for me, that's really critical.
Yeah, and it's a thing I actually want us to focus on for a while. You voted no to the finance bill. You are a party member of the UDA party, the ruling party, and it was an unpopular decision for you to vote against it. Was it a difficult decision for you to make?
Oh, it was. Because in politics, there are quite a number of competing interests. You have the party position, so you also have to balance your politics in regard to that. You have the people's position, and then you also have perhaps even your interest, because every human being is informed by interest, the hierarchy of needs. And you find that those interests are competing oftentimes. So for me, I think looking deeply at it and just introspecting, I thought, well, the people's position should take supreme lead when these interests are competing against each other. And it was quite difficult because the party had pronounced itself, the leadership of the House had pronounced itself. I am elected through a UDA ticket, and of course, even given the fact that I'm also a young politician, and there are so many political undercurrents in politics. So for me, it was such a hard decision. I remember I called my mom in the morning and I told her, Mom, I want us to pray. And she was like, what is wrong? What has happened? And I told her, nothing wrong. I just really want us to pray. So, because I really felt I needed even that emotional support. So it was quite a difficult decision, given that I was going against the grain in every literal way. But I felt that it was the right thing to do. And I said, well, if there will be any consequences to be born out of my decision to take an unpopular position with my party, then I will be ready to bear them as a responsible leader.
You know, in the meantime, there were, you know, several undertones and a few issues that happened, especially in the finance bill. We did see that the president along the way came up with resolutions, and we'll be getting to that as well. Some of the resolutions, there was what the Gen Z said, and you did say, you know, especially on X, that dear Gen Zs, I believe you should have engaged the president and proposed a well thought out plan, perhaps even cabinet nominees, and that's something that you stood for. Do you think that as young parliamentarians, you have made the Gen Zs proud?
I can't really speak collectively because then I would be speaking on behalf of my fellow colleagues and it would be unfair to them.
As Njeri.
But what I can say is, as Njeri Maina, I have done what is right by the young people and by the people of Kirinyaga County who elected me. And even the conversation, or rather the advice, I call it unsolicited opinion to the young generation. It was just a structured way of engaging government, because there's only two ways to participate in governance. One, you can either be in the system, that means you're elected in various positions, whether they're political, board positions, or you can run the system. That means you're the one who is deciding who is in the elective positions. And there's no other way within the confines of the law to run or engage the system. So for me, perhaps I feel that there was no well thought out plan on what next from here, you know?
Yeah, and you know, because it was, looking at this whole thing, the leaderless movement, the tribeless, the partyless, it really advocated for several issues, and some have argued that perhaps it was important to, you know, establish and have a leader. Do you hold that view, that it is important maybe for them to have a leader?
I think at some point they have to really pick a direction, or someone that they feel that, you know, perhaps leans on their thought process or their ideologies. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have a leader, then there's no one to engage with. If you don't have a leader, then you have to be that leader. So they either have to decide at some point whether they actually want to vie for political positions in 2027, or they will have a candidate that they will choose to back and have a draft of issues that they want addressed. Because I do understand that it's very important for them at the beginning to be very amorphous, because that means then if you have a leader, I can come and say, well, I'll offer you this XYZ amount, agree to this position, and then you throw the entire movement into confusion. But then at the end of the day, to engage government, if they want structured conversations, ultimately they do have to pick at least people who represent their interests.
And yesterday the president was in the town hall. First of all, what do you make of the presidential town hall yesterday in the coastal city of Mombasa? He said it is going to be the first of many. Is this an appropriate way to engage, you know, the electorate? In your view?
I think what the president is doing is within his mandate. And he's a very seasoned politician, so he knows best what will serve his administration and even perhaps help him have a peaceful tenure in government. But I think the way we've been doing things for a very long time, what the young people were telling us is that it's not working anymore. The way we've fashioned our politics, our governance structure, the whole system. Unfortunately, this cannot change overnight, because change, even if it's radical, it takes time to cascade and to just have things we really can't be proud of. So for me, I think there's a way that politics or governance has been ran for so many years in this country. And, you know, the president is a student of former presidents like Moi.
Moi, yes.
The Kibaki government also served in it. And we'll take some time to see the new crop of leaders who are informed by different eras like this one.
And, you know, the issue of the Gen Z movement, in terms of the demands that the youth and the Gen Z put out there, first of all, do you associate with them? And, you know, what you do say, okay, and associate and say, perhaps this is good, this can wait, this can take a longer time?
There's a raft of issues, but I know what cuts across even millennials is the high rocketing unemployment levels, an environment that's not conducive for businesses. You know, we're stifling businesses with the excessive taxation, and they're also saying that the corruption in government, which we have seen has really cost the Kenyan taxpayer money. And sometimes even we have questions of whether the funds that have been borrowed, even by previous administrations, whether they have been utilized as per they were supposed to be. So with those issues I do, because they are issues of system failures and governance. But then I think I also picked an issue with, there was a hashtag Ruto must go, because at the end of the day, we would not want to spiral down to anarchy. We want to be able to also live in a country that is peaceful and one that is stable. And I tell people they haven't seen the full extent of anarchy. You know, I've been to South Sudan, and it is just, it's not anything you would wish for a country that you love. So we must not demand for change to the extent of calling for anarchy. And I mean, the Constitution has provided for scenarios of maybe what would happen if say, like the demands as they were going, Ruto must go. So I found it quite a bit disinformed, because then they didn't have the full information of what is provided within the confines of the law.
And is the way the president is addressing these things one that would be perhaps in your liking, even as a leader, as a parliamentarian, be one that is, you know, seeking to address the burning issues that the Gen Z have raised, and by extension the millennials?
I think there's quite a bit of disconnect with the interpretation of what the Gen Zs were trying to tell us, or rather the people in government, because their core concerns were unemployment, corruption, and then of course the business environment, and wanton misuse of public resources. So we still yet to really grasp, I think, the full picture and the situation, the way we say vitu kwa ground ni tofauti. Because, you know, having a new set of CS nominees does not address issues of unemployment. It does not address issues of corruption. But I have seen that also the president has pronounced himself on the passport and the free catered for by government travel for overseas jobs. So that is also trying to see how we can offload the burden of unemployment. But what I insist is that these issues have been there for many years.
How logical
it's a system.
How logical is that solution, especially if we stick on that for a minute? Because, I mean, some have argued, how then do you go ahead and book flights and, you know, embark on that endeavor quite smoothly?
I think allow me to just walk you through it, because I think I have had a conversation with the president in regard to that. And there was this program that was being offered by the Ministry of Labour, the one that was previously headed by Florence Bore. And there were like around 2,500 job opportunities, somewhere in Saudi, somewhere in, I think,
Turkey?
Turkey and United Arab Emirates. And what the challenge was is that most of these young people, fresh off campus, you have your papers, but then you are not able to facilitate the agency fee that is required and the travel fee for the ticket. So we had discussions around, one, you're going to be signing a contract to work for, say, maybe 300,000 a month, right? just an example. So the government comes in, makes it easier, the process of agency fee and the flight booking. But then the agreement is that you will be, it's sort of like an advancement. You'll be able to also pay that amount back from the contract that you have. Because the agency fee was so expensive for majority of Kenyans. So you find even if politicians chip in, it's like maybe, I remember there's a time it was around 500,000. So imagine just paying the agency fee, 500,000. There's a job opportunity, but between you and that job opportunity that you really want to take, there's just an uphill of 500,000. So the government caters for the agency fees, travel costs, but then also it is reimbursed from the contract that you're going to undertake.
And that has brought another conversation of exporting labor. I mean, juxtapose and vis-a-vis a country which is struggling with high levels of unemployment, and then in this situation, pretty much exporting labor, if you would call it Mahesh. And then you now look at the juxtaposition of the promise of creating jobs locally. I mean, don't you think that's where some of the disconnects are happening and occurring, especially with the young people, and they are unable to interact and reconcile their thoughts with your party?
I do understand that bit, but then I've also said that these, the high rocketing unemployment is not a making of the Kenya Kwanza government. We have had systemic issues 6 years post-independence, and that is why we find ourselves in this quagmire. It's not something that the Kenya Kwanza government, say, can just offload a whole system failure of 6 years post-independence overnight and say, well, we have created like, say, 2 million jobs, Because job creation also has a lot to do with the status of the economy, having investors coming in. Now with the recent protest, I know perhaps some of the investors might feel that, it's not stable enough to come and put their money here. It also has to do with industrialization at the local level, the counties, and how we are picking up all these things to ensure that even like we plan for the database that we have of maybe the students we are churning from universities and institutions of higher learning. So it's all these systemic issues. And they cannot, unfortunately, the truth is the Kenya Kwanza government, as much as it would do, they cannot be resolved overnight. So the president is saying, well, I do understand this is the situation. We have alternatives. It is not the best alternative because at the end of the day, like you said, we're exporting labor. There are people who really just want to live here and work here. They don't even want to travel anywhere. But we're also saying we have these alternatives. We have the overseas jobs. We also have the digital programs. The president has spoken passionately about, I think, and I even saw it on the news today that every ward is supposed to have a digital hub, or rather digital center. And we have these online platforms. We have Upwork, we have Transcribe Me, and all these other platforms where at least young people can get something on a contract basis. I know it's not something that's really fully tangible, but as we put these structures in place to invest in manufacturing, to ensure that we have a stable economy that supports businesses, investors, then I think the little that the president can do, he's really trying to do his best.
And then that's from that idea stems the other, touchy subject on how then the delivery of this message has been done in terms of ordinarily, because with the 2010 constitution, experts have argued that the parliament was supposed to check the executive. But when some, events like this occur where bills are being passed, as the young parliamentarians then, whereas, you represent a certain percentage that has a job, but in terms of advocating for young people interests, do you think that in your role, that is coming out as expected?
I think collectively, as a house, we have around 290. No, actually, those are now the elected. And we have another extra, so it's around 340 something or 350 members of parliament. I think the young members, the young MPs who are below 35 is myself, there's Cindy Muge, there's Lynette Tuto, and there's Joseph, I think 4 or 5, right? So you find yourself in a system that is wired to work in a certain manner, and you're a young person trying to even just, first of all, be very visible on the floor, and to get even time to speak out of 350 members, to just get the speaker's attention to at least articulate issues on the floor. So I think young members of parliament have really done the best that they can. But it is a system that is designed not to really allow young members maybe to bring in as much change as you'd want. You know, when I came in, I thought, well, we are going to like break down the barriers. We're going to be having all these bills. I mean, I can tell you I have 3 bills that are pending. Yes. None has come on the floor for first reading. I have very important bill for young people, the Kenya School of Law Amendment Bill, that seeks to ensure that there's harmonization of the KSL Act and the CLE Act, so that young people, over 3,000 students who've not been able to be admitted for ATP program can be admitted. That bill has never come for first reading. So you find that there are all these systemic challenges and issues because there's a way and a whole load of process of the way the law is made. What would be the hurdle, for instance, because you've touched on something I wanted to ask you about later on, but you've touched on the bills. What would be the hurdle in trying to get them even to the first reading? So basically what happens is that bills are prioritized. Okay. There's a committee we call the House Business Committee. If there's a government bill, it is a priority. So that is prioritized by the leader of majority. So that is, it can even be done within a week. But then if it is a private member's bill, and quite a barrage of members have bills, then you find that your bill has not been scheduled to appear on the floor of the House. So basically you have done all that you need to do. I also have the Health Amendment Bill. And you remember there's a time I spoke of the pro bono work I've done for patients who passed on and then the bodies are detained, the family is not able to cater for the bill and they've been detained for like 9-8 months, you know. We still have these very many cases. And that bill has also never come for first reading. And those are bills I initiated as soon as I got to Parliament. So you can imagine there are all these challenges. From the inside, it's very intricate. From the outside, it looks like, what are these guys doing? Like, what have they done? Why have they not done this and this and this? I had the comprehensive health education motion in regard to use and interaction of our young people with social media. I mean, it has never been implemented. So there's all these systemic failures, like I've said. And from the inside, we are doing our best. And I can speak for myself. I'm doing my best. From the outside, it might look as if, what are you guys doing? Yeah. Yeah. And do you think then that the young people would need to, whereas there has been the advocacy for trying to fix the system, is it easy for you, for instance, in your case, let's talk about, say, the amount of money that it cost you to run your campaign. How much did it cost you? I think I spent around maybe 5 million. Yes, and mostly it was because of the agents. Because I had to have agents at during nominations. I had a small team of around 8 people that we'd pay on a monthly basis, just going around giving cards, and then now I had to have agents on the election day. So then this process looks very expensive because the young people would, someone would, looking at the bills that you've proposed, they are mainly to benefit the young people. But as you say, the system doesn't quite seem to be favoring the existence of these young people to come and vie. In terms of correcting the ills, where would we need to start? First, we also have to point the fingers to ourselves as the electorate, because the system is also enabled by the voters. And I have often said that you find that we have, or rather we base our democracy on politics of tokenism. At mashinani level, politicians dish out money to get a vote. So once they do that, as a voter, you lose the accountability. You lose the legitimacy to question them, to tell them, hey, I voted for you so that you can represent me, legislate and oversight, and you're not doing those roles. So we also have to address the issues of politics of tokenism, because that is what makes it so hard for young people to even just first get a party ticket, because the party wants you to be funding their activities, pay party fees. I remember, I think I paid, I paid 250,000 because I was a youth. If you are not a youth, you'd pay, I think for my seat it was 500,000 if you're not a young person. So you can imagine, even to 50,000 is quite a fee
amount, yes.
for young people, right? If it's, you choose not to run on a party, independent, it was around, I think, 10,000, 10 or 20,000 to IEBC. So that is quite a bit manageable. But then we have all these other issues that are also part of the system and our social re-engineering and the way we're just wired to look at things. If you don't give money, George, someone else will come and they will give and they will be voted and you won't be voted, you know? Yeah. And I also feel that I really thank the people of Kirinyaga County because I didn't have to dish out money to get elected. So for me, I did make it, but it is an exception. There are so many other young people, vibrant candidates that I know from Sonu politics who didn't make it, even to the party nominations. I also had a party leader who chose to believe in the capacity of young people, despite other quarters wanting to field candidates who had money and, you know, the look of, you know, politics and all that. Yeah. So it is a defeating system, and that's why you find that people feel disappointed by the young people they vote in, because the system is, it's been there for so long that it would just swallow you whole. So it's sort of like you also want to look at your longevity in politics. And a lot of people who get in and they're new, they are unable to strike a balance.
Indeed. And of course, we shall be getting to see now what exactly you're doing as the woman representative. And remember, the Gen Z have said, a section, they want your seat abolished. Of course, that and much more coming after this short commercial break. You're watching the Daily Report with my guest, Honorable Jane Njeri Maina, the woman representative of Kirinyaga County. We're back in a few minutes to stay with us.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child
than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
Welcome back. You're watching the Daily Report with my guest, the Honorable Jane Njeri Maina, the woman representative for Kirinyaga County, who is also an advocate of the High Court of Kenya and a commissioner for oaths. Thank you for staying with us, Mahesh.
Thank you.
And over the weekend, we did see you somewhere engaging in quite an interesting, what would be cultural activity, and a famous Kikuyu dance. I mean, what was that all about? It was an event, yes, but a lot has come up, after that.
I'm laughing already because I knew what you were referring to.
Yeah.
So it was RMS, Royal Media Services. They have a station called Inoro FM. And they had a cultural dance. It's called Ngogoyo in Kikuyu. And the Deputy President, His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, graced the occasion. And I happened to do a few steps. There's a way of people say it. You do 2 steps and then you break the leg. So basically, that is the dance that we did with the Deputy President.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, and there's been so much reaction about it, and especially looking at the whole conversation of the Central Kenya, Mount Kenya region.
Yeah.
What do you make of the talks for unity that has been going on?
There's no other way around it. Mount Kenya, and I have said time and time again, we can never divide our vote, because once we divide our vote, then we are also weakening our push for collectively the interest of the Central Kenya region. And with the entry of Azimio, of course they're saying it's not Azimio, it's ODM, into government, there's this whole play of different cards of politics coming to mind for me in 2027. So Mount Kenya has to rethink its politics, and also, I say in politics, there are no permanent friends or permanent enemies. It's just the way of politics. It's politicking. It is the nature of the profession. So for me, it is very critical for Mount Kenya to remain united, so that whatever direction we will take in 2027 will be a direction that most favors the people of Mount Kenya region in terms of development agenda.
And of course, by the way, our SMS line is 22047. Our WhatsApp number will be on your screens as well. Her X handle is at hon_Njeri_Maina, or at TV47 News. I'm at George Maringa_ for your feedback, your questions to the Honorable Woman Rep here. And Kenyans have had quite some opinion regarding the seat of woman representative. In a nutshell, if you could re-educate them, what exactly do you guys do?
One, I believe that when we inaugurated the 2010 Constitution, there wasn't enough public participation, or rather civic education, in regard to what the county woman member to the National Assembly seat entails. I must remind them that it is actually an affirmative seat. Parliament has been declared, even up to this point, not to be properly constituted, because the Constitution that we passed in 2010 provides that there must be gender parity. And there's the 2/3 provision that one gender cannot be more than 2/3. And that is how the county woman member to the National Assembly seat came about, as an affirmative seat to also propel, or rather show that women can lead, because our system of voting is based on patriarchy. And if you remember the division of roles, the woman was supposed to stay at home, have babies, look after them. The man is the one who's working. So this is a very progressive provision. And also, there wasn't an explanation of the budget allocation for the county woman member to the National Assembly, or rather woman rep, as people call it. And if you recall, the woman rep is supposed to cater for youth, women, and PWD, and special interest groups. So, of course, we have this vast constituency of people to represent, but I can shock you, George, that in my constituency of Ndia, I get a yearly allocation of 9 million per financial year. The single constituency member of parliament gets 159 million. So there's a huge disparity in terms of resources and how much my office can do, and given the vast constituency it's supposed to cater for. You know, it is such a broad term. You say youth, it's everyone below 35 years constitutionally. You know, you say women, it's every woman basically. You say special interest groups. And all these are supposed to be catered for under the 9 million Kenya shillings. So what county MPs normally focus on, because of the mega funding, normally they focus on economic empowerment initiatives with women chamas. George, I think you come from Kirinyaga County.
Yes, I do.
So you make sure that if your mom has a chama and I haven't funded them through the office, they should make that application for the board to decide whether they qualify. So when I came in as a county MP, and I want to speak this because it's something that is verifiable, I decided that I wanted to focus on economic empowerment and education. The education program that we run is not just giving bursaries to children. We have a program called Tupange Kesho. We give full scholarships to kids who have no parents, total orphans, and special interest, or PWD, children. We also go above and beyond and offer within the same program a mentorship program for them. We have a file for every child that is under our scholarship program. Every time they sit for exams, there's a board that reviews their performance. If, say, the child had a C in the last term, gets a D plus or D minus, or rather any lower as a grade, there's a counselor who sits with them. And we also have a spiritual leader who talks to them, because these kids go through so much. And I figured that above and beyond just giving a scholarship and, you know, just going to the periphery, it is important to also cater for children who have needs beyond just the mere scholarship we give. We also have an economic empowerment program for women's and youth groups. We have funded over 150 groups in Kirinyaga County. The minimum funding, because of the budget constraints and the vote head, because the program for kids has a vote head, the economic empowerment has a vote head of 20% of the 9 million. We have funded at least, the very least, 100,000 Kenya shillings. That is a very good amount for most of the women at the grassroots level. They do table banking, they do goat rearing, they do chicken rearing, they do value addition for their honey. So that is the way we support communities in a small but very integral way. We also have a social welfare program. You find that at the communal level, we have the welfare programs for burying members of the community who've departed. So we also have, we assist them, maybe acquire any material support that they need for the social welfare program, like tents, seeds, because I think if you come from Kirinyaga, you know that at Mashinani, even like getting a tent for people to assemble is a very, sometimes for the marginalized parts like Moya, it can be quite tricky for some families who are really poor.
Indeed, and you know, there are some questions, of course, we'll be getting to your feedback. Thank you for sending
And of course we legislate. You know, people think we don't legislate. We legislate like any other MP.
Okay, so then when you look at the efficacy of this affirmative action, do you then think that we will get to a position where, in as much as the Constitution provides that there will be 47 seats for the female gender, shall we get to a place where we will then get to a 2/3 gender rule compliance? Because remember, even the former Chief Justice said that Parliament needs to be disbanded.
Do I see it
do you see
in the near future?
In the near future?
I don't see it in the foreseeable future
okay.
because we're still a long way from believing in women leadership. But we have had a good transition of women reps who've transitioned to other seats like governor. We have, of course, don't say it's, let me not even give that example.
Okay.
Anyway. Yeah. No, I haven't. I have another example. We have the governor for Homa Bay, right? She was a woman representative.
Okay.
We have Martha Wangari. She's now a single constituency MP. She was a woman representative.
Okay.
We have, no, she was nominated, sorry. We have another honorable member who also went from, we have Wanjiko Mohia. She's a member of parliament for Kipipiri. She was a woman rep. So these seats were supposed to be affirmative in a way that they were fashioned to sort of mentor women leaders to also now transition to other elective positions where they actually compete with men. But do I see, it actually has a sunset clause. So after the next term, then that was when the county MP seat, rather the constitution thought that we would have transitioned to actually voting in women. And I have always said that even from a personal perspective as a feminist, I would only back women who are worth backing. I don't believe that we should just get something just because we're women, okay? But then there's a way that the patriarchal system and the institutional failures have also been a barrier to women getting into elective seats and competing with men competitively.
Okay.
But then if the Kenyans say that they do want the county MP seat to go away, I mean, George, it is very progressive from my standpoint, and it is a good seat to mentor women to go to other elective positions where they compete. But also, I mean, it is within their rights to call for an initiative under the popular initiative referendum, amend the constitution, have a streamed down government, and things move on.
You come from a county, you rather represent a county that is also headed by a female leader. How is your relationship with Governor Waiguru?
So, well, let me say that, anyway, I wanted to say that you do come from my county, so, but I understand. I do not have a relationship per se with the governor of Kirinyaga County that is to talk about, I think where we left things last time, there's a time last year, there was an incident.
Yes.
They're just there. It's very frosty. We don't talk. And it's quite unfortunate, because when I came into leadership, I thought that, the older women who've been there, some of them old enough to be my mothers, would be people who are just really holding my hand. But I think there's politics for women is really competitive, and people look at you as this young, flashy, you're all over the place, you're brilliant, like you've come to sort of take their space. But then they also forget that you have to pass the baton at the end of the day. And the space, if it's enough for men, it's also enough for women. But I do sympathize and sort of have some grace towards the way they feel, because it is the way the system has conditioned them to think. And I have never felt entitled to any mentorship or support from the older women in politics, because, I'm someone who knows how to get around. At the end of the day, you have to do what you have to do.
You have to do what you have to do. Then looking at the other day, we saw you all at State House with the president. What were you discussing?
Oh, yeah. That was a very different sort of discussion. We're just looking at the agenda for Kirinyaga County and the development plan, the projects that have been launched, the ones that have maybe stalled, the ones that have funding, the ones that maybe need a bit more lobbying to the president, and just pushing for the greater good of Kirinyaga County.
And you know, there's some feedback here. The Fields production, he says, as a Kirinyaga County resident, I must admit that our leader has done a tremendous job to reach the grassroots under the Tupange Kesho program and the MNK Foundation. Which one is that? That is giving full scholarships and mentorship programs to our students and women economic empowerment funding. Hongera Mheshimiwa Philip Murimi from Kirinyaga.
Oh, that is the program I was telling you I'm very proud about, where we go above and beyond. So basically, GAF helps with the scholarship, and then the foundation that is self-funded helps with, you know, the other maybe extra material needs or any other sort of facilitation.
Facilitation.
Yes.
Indeed. There's a question from... doesn't state Cornelius. He says, thanks for the show. Ask Mheshimiwa Njeri. In fact, there are two questions. One, what happens with the good things that were in the finance bill, given that she decided to vote no? Could she not have suggested for amendments before voting?
One, what I can say is that Article 1 of the Constitution of Kenya says sovereign power belongs to the people. So as a representative of the people, I offer my opinion, but I also exercise consultation with the people of Kirinyaga County. And maybe perhaps what was quite defeatist for the finance bill is that we did not communicate effectively to the people of Kenya where we were at and what we wanted to do and why we were doing it. So you find that in politics, you lose that public trust, you know. And once you lose the public trust, then it becomes hard for you to try to walk people through the journey or tell them, well, we are doing this because of X, Y, Z. So for me, the reason I voted no is because I consulted the people of Kirinyaga County. Not one, not two. I held more than 6 meetings across the county. And resoundingly, they said that they had no interest whatsoever in me voting yes for the finance bill because, like I've said at the end of the day, it has to be exercised in consultation with the people who voted for me. So the positive things that were in the finance bill, I feel that as the Kenya Kwanza administration, we failed when we did not communicate effectively. We failed when we put things like, you know, tax for diapers, surely. You know, it was quite self-defeatist, if you ask me. So we lost that public perception. And it was just really hard to even try to tell people that, you know, we're going to amend this. And then people are like, no, you guys are lying. You're going to put some things in between. Because public trust is something very critical for any administration and politics.
Okay. Cornelius, the second question he asks, what is she doing given that unemployment is a time bomb in our country? Has she ever thought of having a bill in parliament to make systems of employment be fair and as transparent enough in both public and private service? Does she acknowledge the fact that public service recruitment is toxic? If she does, what's her take given she's accessible to the head of state for review it and ensure sanity is or even an overhaul before it explodes? Quite a mouthful.
Yeah, that's good. I wanted to say quite a number of questions there, but very good questions. And first, I think I have explained just how hard it is to even get a bill to first reading on the floor of Parliament. And you see the time span is 5 years. So if you do not get the bill done by then, the next time you actually have to restart the process again. So normally what we have done is we have motions and statements on the floor. It is the fastest way to engage on the floor of Parliament. He talked about recruitment and unfair recruitment. The time there was an issue about KRA recruitment. As KYPA, we tabled a motion, we discussed it. The time there was an issue about remember the company that was taking some screening, eye screening, what was the name?
Yeah, that one that was doing the...
Yes, that one that people say it is taking people to heaven. That one. We have also, as KYPA, tabled a motion in regard to return of Kazi Mtaani, which the president has said, will now be returning to at least alleviate. You know, it isn't conclusively solving the issue of unemployment, but at least it's something that shows that we really do have the goodwill as a government.
Okay. Does the president need to continue making more promises? Because we've seen what he said at the county of Tharaka Nithi, county number 13, went to the coast. We even saw guys on X saying the president needs to stop making more promises and implement whatever he promised in his manifesto and whatever has been promised so far. What do you take of that?
Oh, but he is. You know, we have the housing program. It is ongoing. It was a big agenda of the Kenya Kwanza government. We have SCHIF, right? The courts just really put some brakes on it, but the government was actually intending to fully implement universal health coverage. We have the digital hubs. You know, the president has actually launched some, but then because they're supposed to be done with the single constituency members of parliament, there's a bit of delay in execution of it. Any politician, George, is a dealer in hope. It is a currency of politics. So if the president comes to Kirinyaga County tomorrow, right, he knows we don't have maybe roads, water, he's going to promise that they're going to come. Because if we do not promise our people that good things will happen, I mean, we leave them to despair.
For a government that has, made several promises, do you think then that the question here is, I mean, these things sound grandiose in many people's heads and in Kenyans' minds, really. And the question here is they do not feel the money in their pockets, and that has been a concern. The digital hubs, the Hustler Fund, there are programs, yes, the government initiated, but the end result of money in people's pockets is where there is a problem. Don't you think there is a disconnect, and that's where Kenyans are feeling like there is still no connection, with this government?
And I think I also admitted that there's a bit of a disconnect in the way we are passing the message and what is being implemented. Because sometimes, let's say, the president has promised a digital hub in Kirinyaga County. It is upon the member of parliament of that constituency to follow up and ensure they have a digital hub. I'll give you a good example. We have a digital hub in a constituency called Kirinyaga Central. Recently, we had an Ajira digital program that I lobbied for on behalf of the young people of Kirinyaga that has supported around 200 young people with short-term contracts of transcription jobs from the law courts that we have, 200 youths. And then we have a program that we call INET. It's a partnership with Equity, my office and Equity. Okay. And it's running for 4 months where we're equipping the youths with skills. Not everyone got a grade that can take them to an institution of higher learning. Yeah. And then now after the 4 months, Equity has actually committed that they will be giving seed capital. And my office will also be giving a grant. So I think when the president promises, it is upon the leaders to also ensure that they follow up on implementation. The president does not implement most of these things. I mean, we also have to cut him some slack.
All right. When you look at now, as we enter the home stretch, when you look at the new CSs that have come in, the president has said even those who have been reappointed are coming under new terms. Does this, in your opinion, inspire confidence, in the way forward, especially with the CS nominees, because that seems to be a thorn in the flesh?
What I can say is that at least I do not sit in that vetting committee. So hakuna salamu zitanipata. And I would not want to preempt the report that the committee is going to table, because I mean they're my colleagues, and it would be bad to, and becoming of me, to paint them in bad light. Let us wait for the report they will table on the respective CSS. I know members of public are also going to submit memoranda, and then we can weigh the facts when they're presented to us on the floor of the House in terms of a report. Because if I were to impugn any motive, I would be painting the members of the committee in bad light and also judging them from a very biased perspective.
Oh, okay. Some more feedback has come in on our WhatsApp. DR Jane Njeri Maina is a leader truly delivering on her campaign promises and a clear to Pange Kesho program. Keep the spirit, Mahesh. Joseph watching from Inoi, Kirinyaga. Millie from Kirinyaga, Honorable Njeri Maina is boosting community spirit in Kirinyaga by donating 100-seater tents and chairs to local welfare groups. She's really overworking. She's a milk of lions. By the way, are you still...
I'm still milking the lions, you know. When I have enough milk, I'm going to share with you.
You're going to share. Okay, brilliant. So looking at the overview and the lay of the land of the country, politically, economically, socially, what would you like to see? And perhaps you can even speak to Kenyans and in the wake of these demonstrations and realization and the awakening of Article 1 of the Constitution.
I think I'd really want to see a Kenya that is also holding itself accountable as citizenry and taking responsibility for the leadership that we have. And we must never forget that true sovereignty belongs to the people of Kenya. And myself and other leaders who were elected, we only exercise it on behalf of the people of Kenya. And the people of Kenya must never truly give away their power. They must always ensure that they are able to have the moral high ground of holding their leaders accountable. And that is why I insist we must do away with the politics of tokenism. We must weigh the leaders. We must weigh their intellectual capacity. We must weigh their integrity. We must weigh their accountability. We must weigh their track record, if any, if they're persons of advanced age, so that we can also at least know that when we take the wrong direction, it is because we are the ones who put those people in power.
Indeed. What's your forecast after 2027?
You've asked me that before. You know, you asked me immediately after I was sworn in. And my focus, like I said, George, is to defend the seat that I currently hold. But I always say in politics, you keep the options open because you just never know. But I have always felt that I would not want to rush. And in politics, it is the people that tell you it is about time.
About time. Brilliant indeed. That has been the Honorable Jane Njeri Maina, the woman rep for Kirinyaga County, who is also an advocate of the High Court and Commissioner for Oaths in this country. Thank you so much for speaking to us. We look forward to having another conversation in the near future and, of course, hoping that your bills will go through.
Thank you for having me. Of course, you know, given that you come from my home county.
This was a payback.
This was a payback.
Indeed. Thank you so much. I am George Maringa. Thank you so much for watching the Daily Report. As always, stay safe and be kind to one another. I'll see you tomorrow.